Veteran political strategist Senor and Feldman showed us last week, exactly what goes into the debate prep. They carefully watched the candidates last night. It all began with that handshake between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Dan and Michael are here with their impressions of what the nominees said and how they acted. Good morning to you both.
Morning. Good morning.
Let's start it off with the handshake, and then I want to get into your impressions, because it said the people make their decision in the first 15 minutes of the debate.
Yeah. Well, look, I actually was wondering whether or not she was going to actually shake his hand, because she built up this idea that he was...
She said, good to see you.
Right, that he was the xenophobe and all the rest, so how do you shake his hand? But I think it was the right approach, because her whole demeanor in that first half of the debate was, I'm not here to pick a fight, I'm here to make my case. At the same time, she was just pushing his buttons and provoking him into undermining himself, which I think she did with great effect. That said, I thought he was very good at making the sort of outsider case at the beginning and railing against bad trade deals. I thought if he stuck to that for the entire debate, he probably could have won the debate. But by her pushing his buttons and sort of provoking him, he got way off message.
Mike, you agree?
I do agree. I think if you think of the debate as real estate, to put it in Trumpian terms, she occupied more of that real estate than he did last night. On issues that she needs to communicate to voters, and distinct voters. She was communicating to women. She was communicating to millennials by talking about climate. During the birther exchange, I think she scored more points with African Americans. And to your point, she kept drawing him off of his strategy. So I think the first 15, 20 minutes, I agree with Dan, I was a little worried that he might actually be completely contained during the debate.
You were
but by
worried?
the end, I was a little worried, but by the end, he was off that strategy if he ever had one.
Mike, you advised Al Gore, and he was criticized when he sighed a lot during his debate. We saw some interesting personal reactions by Donald Trump. The sniffling last night, the drinking of the water. Do those moments matter?
They did in 2000, and mostly because the Bush campaign worked very hard over the days after that to make it more about size than actually the substance. If you scored the debate on points, Al Gore probably won that debate. A week later, he lost the debate. So they are important. I'm not sure that particular issue, the Snifflegate, however you want to call it, is going to leave a lasting impression on voters. A little distracting, but that's about it.
But the guzzling, I was someone who's advised Marco Rubio and Paul Ryan. I'm particularly sensitive to water guzzling. It's a sore subject for me. I couldn't believe how much he was guzzling water. I agree with Mike. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter that much. But I would say this. For the last few weeks, Trump has made stamina a big issue, and it was breaking through. I mean, he kept hammering this point, and she didn't help by not being completely straight about her health issues. Last night, she stood in front of a massive audience, and she looked energetic. She looked upbeat. She looked like she was brimming with ideas. She looked like she was ready to prosecute. He was the one sniffling and guzzling water, and I just think it's now that issue is over. The health issue is over.
Did he seem well prepared to you? I'm wondering, because surely there was some debate prep for him. Did he not follow advice, or do you think he just says, I'll go and do my own thing?
I think somewhere in between. I think he was prepared. Notice he called her Secretary Clinton last night, not Hillary. He managed to contain himself. He did deliver some lines that he'd clearly prepared. He made the argument for change, broadly speaking, that Dan mentioned. But she was able to draw him off of his strategy. And that means he wasn't prepped enough. And by the way, these issues were not surprises that he got caught up on.
I think one of the pieces in the paper said today there was some psychological warfare that Hillary Clinton attempted last night, and it worked. On what particular issue did you see that?
Well, if you looked in the primaries, they've studied the Republican primary debates pretty closely from what I understand. And you look at, for instance, Rubio in the Houston debate, primary debate, where he really pushed Trump on whether or not he's a self-made man, or whether he inherited, sort of born on third base and made all his money as a result. And Trump went crazy. Taxes, when you press him on taxes, he goes crazy. And I think she very systematically went in with those 2 points and pushed, and he, like clockwork, went crazy. I mean,
because he didn't challenge that he paid no federal taxes.
He basically confirmed that he paid no federal taxes. She prosecuted a very strong case. She says there's only 4 reasons why someone won't reveal their taxes. They're not as rich as he's not as rich as he says he is. He's not as charitable as he says he is. He's in debt to foreign banks, or he pays 0 federal taxes. And on 0 federal taxes, he said, that makes me smart. Now, the Clinton campaign is probably going to turn that into a campaign ad, because it's basically him confirming what people have been saying.
By the way, by contrast, on the emails, which is a vulnerability of hers, in and out in 2 minutes.
Right.
Nothing.
And that just showed total discipline. That just total discipline. No, she explained it and got out. She didn't get into the anthropology.
No, but missed opportunity on his part.
Right.
Preparation on her part.
Got it.
Dan Senor and Mike Feldman, good to have you both.